What do Death Note, Doctor Stone, and Battle Royale all have in common? Apart from being really good and Japanese, they all use a storytelling technique which I'm going to call limitation writing. And to explain limitation writing, first I want to contrast it with its opposite, which I'm going to call trailer writing, which is more common to Hollywood movies and is terrible. So trailer writing is when a script is based on lots of cool stuff happening instead of a story or narrative. You can think of it as a writer writing a trailer for his or her movie and then writing the rest of the movie to fit around it. Now this isn't the actual process, but the result looks something like that. Maybe the screenwriter is trying to please a bunch of producers who aren't talented storytellers. Perhaps their style prioritizes action and tension over storytelling. Whatever the reason, this style of writing shows a lack of confidence on the part of the filmmakers, who don't trust their story to be interesting enough to keep the attention of their audience, especially those in foreign markets who won't understand cultural references.
Damn, they got a magnet plane?
Which explains why the attempts at humour in so many modern movies end up falling flat.
Oh, they fly now!
They fly now? They got a magnet plane?
The problem with this kind of movie is that instead of having a story in which characters are motivated and limited by their environments, the script focuses on cool stuff happening and is written accordingly to bring the characters into set pieces. Story is sacrificed for spectacle. A movie based on set pieces can be done well. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the best one, is essentially just set pieces joined together by the Grail quest. A film like The Last Crusade can get away with this because it's very well crafted. The way Spielberg directs action in the Indiana Jones movies is technically brilliant. Set pieces are clear, mechanical, and logical, and the same can be said about the scripts more broadly. So you can sacrifice story for spectacle and have a good movie, it just has to make sense. Logic is king. And limitation writing, the opposite of trailer writing, respects logic. In limitation writing, the story is written like a game. Characters have a specific objective and a set of rules to play by, and the story develops from there. The events of the story are naturally shaped by the rules of the game or the limitations of their environment, instead of the writer's need for cool stuff having to happen. Which ultimately makes cool stuff even cooler when it does happen. Sometimes the characters are literally in a game. Battle Royale is about a class of high schoolers who have to play live action Fortnite. Then you've got the more sci-fi fantasy stuff like Death Note, which isn't exactly a game, but the characters are heavily bound by the rules of the Death Note. And the fun of the show is watching the characters use these rules in creative ways to their advantage. My favourite recent example of this is Dr. Stone, where a group of apocalypse survivors, who are also Japanese high school students, because anime, have to rebuild society. They're not playing a game necessarily, but they have heavy limitations imposed upon them by their Stone Age environment. Watching them slowly build a kingdom of science from the ground up has all the satisfaction of a simulation game, without the feeling that you're pouring your life into a bottomless void. I love this style of writing. Even in the ultra stylized world of anime, it feels more realistic than a lot of live action because the characters' decisions make sense and are motivated by the environment and its limitations. Watching characters thinking their way out of impossible situations is much more rewarding than watching people run down a corridor shooting lasers. At least it is for me. Now, the examples of limitation I gave in this video are all Japanese, and while this isn't an exclusively Japanese writing technique, I have noticed it more in Japanese animation, video games and movies. As for Western movies, I think the old Pixar films do a really good job of telling limitation stories. Think about Toy Story, for example, where the characters are faced with the challenge of firstly being small, and secondly having to freeze in place whenever a human is around as not to arouse suspicion. The best part of these movies is how the toys react to these limitations in inventive ways, and the action scenes have a similar Spielbergy kind of Rube Goldberg logic to them. So that's about all I've got to say, and subscribing to my channel might be something you want to do if you want to see more videos about screenwriting and Japanese culture. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you can think of any more examples of this kind of writing in Western movies or in anime, let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.